about way cash crisis works.
Talking about Venezuela once again.
Systemic important banks. They removed the one factor you do this thing called monetary awareness.
Next recession.
Recession will be
Will be a recession.
We're going to hit a recession.
The date of the next recession.
a U.S.-only recession typically lasts 8 to 10 months, but a lot of things about this particular one have not been typical. So
A crash is coming now, whether it's 6 months from now, 12 months, 36 months, no one knows.
I go to bed every night, I dream of another recession. If you know what to do, if you have the right plan to set up, you can make a lot of money from this.
Hey there, hope all is well. Back at you today with some more RT News updates. And as you tell from today's title, we're going to be talking about how the next market correction or crash could really impact the middle class by wiping them out completely. And it has to do with some recent graphs that I have surrounding me now, as well as just a look back over what happened during the last Great Recession we had and some of the side effects that happened afterwards when a lot of wealth was lost and how some profited majorly. So before I dive into all those articles, I want to encourage you to click the subscribe button for more RTD News updates as well as interviews. And if you're new to RTD, I want to encourage you to visit the RTD University page where I put together all my prior interviews dealing with monetary matters, fiscal policy, as well as the importance of having sound money and tangible assets in your possession today. So let's dive into today's news. So today, as I mentioned, I have a couple articles dealing with the whole middle class being wiped out from the next market crash. And it's inspired by the idea of Jeff Bezos, the Amazon CEO, becoming the richest man on the planet as of now. And then some articles mentioning how our president, Donald Trump, net worth has dropped. And it's all tied into the idea that during the Great Recession, there's a lot of people that's able to profit, and there's a lot of people who lost out. And unfortunately, it's the middle class and lower class, and even the high income earners that lost out majorly because a lot of their net worth is tied into things that is quite opposite of those of the Billionaire Boys Club. So I have a couple articles I want to share with you dealing with some of the side effects of the last Great Recession and how the median household income was completely wiped away because of where the net worth is positioned, how we actually view net worth, and how I believe in the next recession, it's going to be a lot worse than what this past Great Recession left us with. So before I dive into that, as always, I want to encourage you to take the time to read some of these articles and grasp for yourself to get a better understanding of what's actually going on. And then also, if you find this information important, I want to encourage you to share this information with your family and friends so that they can be well informed on monetary as well as these matters that impact their net worth. So let's dive into today's articles. So the very first article here is from Money Watch. And as I mentioned, it's about Amazon CEO Bezos reaps riches while Trump's net worth sinks. And so here it talks about Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos has become the first 100 billion mogul to top Forbes' annual ranking of the world's richest people. It says, but President Donald Trump's fortunes haven't fared as well, with Forbes estimating his wealth sank during his first year in office despite a surging stock market. And so it goes on to just give more highlights as to how Jeff Bezos has basically arrived at the position he's at now as far as being considered one of the world's richest people. And then the very next article here is from The Cut. It says Trump is reportedly less rich now. And then give an idea as just some figures. It says, according to Forbes, Trump is now worth only $3.1 billion instead of $3.5 billion. Says the loss seems to stem largely from real estate issues. The value of Trump Tower in New York City declined by $41 million last year, and high profile retail tenants are apparently vacating other Manhattan properties. Says hotel licensing and management company has also dropped in value. And so that led me to, really want to investigate the idea that we have two gentlemen that are in the Billionaire Boys Club. And so as you see this graph surrounding me now, at the very top, it lists the breakdown and how people view their net worth and how the actual idea of net worth is calculated and how there's a big gap between how the lower, middle, and high income earners measure their net worth in comparison to with the people that's in the Billionaire Boys Clubs. And as you see above my head, it's heavily orange in various asset classes that aren't really things that retain their value when market corrects or there's market crashes. Whereas at the very bottom of this graph here, as you can see over my shoulder here, is heavy blue. And so those two distinctions there are things that are worth noting, that during a correction or a crash, there's going to be those that receive a lot, and there's going to be those at the very top that's going to lose a lot. So we're going to get into that a little bit more now. Here's an article out of the dailymail.com in the UK, and it has the idea of trying to help people understand just the concept of net worth. And it gives some advice here on how to actually measure your net worth or whatnot. And I'll read through it briefly, but yet the whole goal is to get you to the graph where you can see it for yourself and how there's a distinction between the thought process between the billionaire boys and everyone else. But yet, give you an idea here, it says, do you know your net worth? It says, experts reveal why tidying up your value is the key to getting rich, but only a quarter of people can put a finger on it. And give you some of the highlights of this article. It says only a quarter of people aged 18 to 34 know what their net worth is. It says net worth is assets such as cash and property minus debt, including repayments. If your figure is a minus, prioritizing debt repayments is more important step. It says experts say net worth is single most useful indicator of financial health. And they give you a little bit more information here. It says if your net worth is a minus figure and you were to lose your job or experience a change in circumstances, then no matter how big your bank balance is right now, you'll service your debts. But according to research, only a quarter of 18 to 34-year-olds can put a number on their net worth despite how easy it is to calculate. It says, put simply, your net worth is your valued assets such as money in the bank and valuable items you own, such as a car or property, minus any debt such as a loan repayment. So here we have the idea of someone trying to give some financial information on just how can you calculate your net worth. And from the graph I'm going to show you, in the graph that's around me right now, you're going to see how those calculations, those figures, and that information there is not solely true, because as you see above my head, there's a lot of individuals that own things that this person is referring to, but yet their net worth in general is subject to a market correction. Because if you don't own your house outright, then that means you're subject to actually going underwater with your house if you owe more in your house than it's actually worth. And then the idea of this orange figure above my head, it has to do with automobiles. So if you're paying a note on a car that's depreciating, it's good to say that car is going to cause more problems than good in the very end. This information in of itself, take it for what it's worth, but yet this information here is quite different, as you're going to see, from those in the Billionaire Boys Club in comparison to those that are the middle class and high income earners even. So let me move on. So here's the actual graph that I want to get to, and it's a chart by Visual Capitalist, and it's a chart that says what assets make up wealth. And so based upon that last demonstration of determining your net worth, let's have a look and see what's different between the Billionaire Boys Club and everyone else. And so if you just look at this graph here, you'll see how if you're in the $10,000, your net worth tier is around $10,000. Look at how the asset classes is broken down. It says here we have a person has a more of a bigger chunk of cash on hand out of that 10,000. It says their primary residence takes up another great percentage of their assets. Then we have vehicles that take up another good portion of their assets. And then you have some of the more conventional things, such as your retirement with your pension, IRA, which people are heavily dependent upon in this lower class. Then you have life insurances, and you have some mutual funds, stocks, all those other things that at this end here. And then as you move on up more to the middle class / high income earners, it's the same thing, probably a little bit less cash, but yet their primary residence in the middle class is what a lot of people are banking on as far as it being able to retain its value throughout their years. And then you have vehicles. Those are the people who are less concerned about driving fancy cars, I would imagine, and so don't really have car notes per se. But then their primary focus is on their pensions and retirements and funding, making sure their retirement funds are heavily funded. And so here you have a better chunk of their wealth going into that, along with the other things here that makes up some things here. Then you go to the Millionaire Boy Clubs. We have the doctors, we have high income lawyers or whatnot. So they have cash on hand. Their primary residence is not as important. And so they have vehicles that doesn't really make up a difference in their net worth, but then they're also heavily dependent upon funding their retirement, their pensions and whatnot. And then you have a little bit of mutual funds and other assets that's sprinkled out through here. And then you move into the 10 million, 100 million, and 1 billion. And so if you look at just the color distinction from the top tier here all the way at the bottom, you can see a shift in mindset and priorities, as well as just overall thought process. So here we have a group of individuals that's heavily invested in their homes and their vehicles and concerned with their pensions and retirements and funding. Make sure all their retirement vehicles are funded heavily. Whereas when you move into the higher income individuals, it's a complete different mindset. So here we have the Jeff Bezos, the Donald Trumps, all those people who are near or in the billionaire boys club. And so their primary concern is on this big blue block right here, and that's their business interests. They have income producing businesses that make money for them, whether they are awake or whether they sleep, to where they're not even concerned with their primary residence or even for that matter having cash. And then this plays into the idea that the monetary policy is very favorable to these people at the very bottom, because right now in the conditions we're in as an economy, you can borrow money at zero cost and invest it into businesses to really improve this blue area down here at the expense of those who are at the very top who have access to just borrow for no reason. And so here we have the clear distinction in just overall mindset. The very top tier net worth individuals who are concerned with what's been conventional as far as having your house, your car, make sure you're heavily funding your retirement and whatnot. Those are the individuals that during a market correction or market crash suffer the most, because A, your house will be a liability in a market correction if you don't own your house, and the equity in your house becomes your liability because owning more in the house than it's actually worth. And then your vehicles in and of itself, apart from some type of classical car or a rare car, it in of itself is a depreciating asset. And then everybody's, when it comes to your retirement, your IRA or whatnot, they're heavily invested in the conventional financial tools that's pumped out, bonds, stock market, all those things right there. Whereas in the people on the very bottom tier, they're not concerned with any of those matters, their primary residence, their vehicles, or their pensions. As you can see at the very bottom over here, they don't even have retirement vehicles. Why? Because their businesses are what keeps them in the hunt no matter what. And you factor in the fact that monetary policy is very favorable to them because it allows them to borrow at zero cost to be able to invest more to grow their businesses. So this is what's coming in the days ahead, in my opinion. Here we have the very top tier of the people who are very heavily invested in things that during a market crash has proven time and time again to not retain its value. So therefore, their entire portfolio tied into things that are based upon the markets are subject to be lost. Whereas in those at the very bottom in the billionaire boys club, those are the individuals that come rain or shine, their businesses are going to still be here. And because we are in need of whatever service they have, they're going to be just fine. So just want to share with you some information on what's happening in this whole market crash scenario and how it will impact the middle class and how it has impacted the middle class in the past and how it will in the future as well. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this matter. Please leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Looking forward to bringing you more news and more updates. Enjoy your day.